definition of spirit is a force or principle believed to animate living beings and often to endure after departing from the body of a living being at death, the soul. Now, we tend to forget that, just because we're living in this thing or whatever, there's more to us, like our zen, our essence, the true thing that really gives us consciousness. We have been disconnected our whole life. It's funny how, in 2020 we're most connected, internet, all these things, but yet we're most disconnected from the one being that we all agree we're on, Earth. Earth is a conscious being. That's why it's called Mother Earth, all right? So, this big ball, we consider just mud. We basically take it for granted. We're always wearing rubber shoes, sandals, whatever, on hardwood floors, walking on hallways, roads, concrete, all these things that are just trying to cover over what is Earth. We need to ground, go bare feet. When was the last time you actually had your bare feet in your front yard or backyard or just grass or sand or whatever for, a good amount of time, for a long time, really like enjoyed it, not on some, unconscious, like, oh, I have to go outside real quick, or no, like actually you purposely went out there barefoot to really feel, connect, just the way we are connected with the internet. We need to get that connected to Earth. So many of us can't even go 20 minutes without the Wi-Fi, let alone out in public. And so imagine how much years we neglected to even connect back to Earth, let alone the sun and the moon. These are variables that actually have an enormous amount of influence on your life, yet we just tend to think that whatever food I eat, that's just it. There are so many things that affect who you are and actually influence you. Whenever you ground and get back to Earth, she's actually, nurturing you, healing you, all right? This is the soles of our feet, the soles of our hands, the solar plexus, all right? This is all things that are, intertwined and all connected in one, all right? So we need to get back and connecting to Earth, the sun and the moon, and understand that these things are what give us life.
The human heart is now documented as the strongest generator of both electrical and magnetic fields in the body. Now this is important because we've always been taught that the brain is where the action is. The brain has an electrical field, it does have a magnetic field, but they're relatively weak compared to the heart. The heart is about 100 times stronger electrically and up to 5,000 times stronger, 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the brain. And the reason this is important is because the physical world as we know it is made of those two fields of energy, electrical and magnetic fields of energy, electromagnetic fields. Our own physics books now tell us if we can change either the magnetic field of an atom or the electrical field of the atom, by doing that we literally change that atom. We change the stuff that our bodies in this world are made of. And it appears now that the human heart is designed to do both, to change both the electrical field and the magnetic field of our bodies and our world, and they do so in response to the emotions that we create between our heart and our brain.
In 1905, physics genius Nikola Tesla submitted his U.S. patent 787412, which was titled The Art of Transmitting Electrical Energy Through the Natural Medium. It included designs for a series of worldwide generators. Tesla realized that the ionosphere was sparkling with electrical energy which could easily be tapped. Planet Earth, according to Tesla, was a gigantic electrical generator spinning around two magnetic poles from which limitless energy can be harnessed using the right medium or shape. His device was later referred to as Tesla's electromagnetic pyramid, based on his design looking like a triangle shape.
Tesla tapping into the actual shape of the pyramid, I believe, was something that just came roundabout through his investigation into the location of the pyramids. Because what appears to have happened is that he realized that it wasn't the actual shape of the pyramid so much, although pyramids exhibit fractal energy much more efficiently than other types of designs. But what he discovered was it was the location of the pyramids that created the power. And when he built his facility here in Colorado Springs, and then on the East Coast, he did so according to the laws of where the pyramids at Giza were constructed. And it had to do with the elliptical orbit of the Earth and those sites' relationship to the actual equator. That there was a natural construction somehow taking place between those very specific sites and the overall energy field of the Earth. And because of that, he believed he could transmit power wirelessly.
Tesla's discovery and device disappeared after his mysterious death in 1943. But what he was trying to tap into might have just scratched the surface of understanding the power of something much more ancient.
Energy is, comprised of vibrations and frequencies. Vibrations is the unit of measure. So if it's 10 vibrations, taps per second, then that's what I'm emitting my frequency. If it's 100, vibration, taps per second, then that's how big my frequency is, all right? So understand that all energy is comprised of just movements, and it emits what it is, okay? So every single thing on, whatever, how solid it is, it's always moving. My skin looks solid, but it's always moving. My skin cells always, flying off, dying, the repairing. This wall, it looks solid, but it's gonna break down, it's gonna chip away. Even this whiteboard, it looks solid, but it's gonna deteriorate over time, Every single thing is moving. We're constantly moving, all right? So understand that the energy that you put out is the exact same energy that you will receive. This is why football players hang out with football players. Drug dealers hang out with drug dealers, all right? Everybody is on the same, vibration, all right? The same frequency, all right? Energy is always, sense, but we're not consciously sensing it. That's why sometimes when people come with negative energy, we just, I don't like Buddy's vibes, I don't like his vibes, or maybe I like the way, he's got some, good energy. These are terms that we actually use, but we're not really conscious about what we're saying, all right? The things that you say have immense influence on what, happens. Just like how we generate thought and just uplift ourselves or talk down on ourselves, how it can influence us. The power of word of mouth actually creates energy, and in its way has frequency, all right? These words have been made exactly the way these words were made or constructed purposely the way they have in order to influence us, or in a positive or negative way. So energy is comprised of vibrations, and however, low vibrations or higher, the higher you are, the more enlightened you are. So whatever, lower or higher, it emits its frequency, all right? So the energy it gives out, it will receive it back. So be wary of the things that you are doing or hanging out with, or people you're hanging out with.
432 hertz frequency, all right? Physical matter is created at this level of electronic functioning. Now this right here at the top is a depiction of the electromagnetic spectrum. Now I know Europeans have us read from left to right. This you read from right to left. You follow me? So when we get to here, family, radio frequency. Remember, radio, any form of communication, specifically sound messages. This is where the universe said, you know what? I want to become physical. So it began to vibrate. Now, let me give y'all the definition of hertz frequency so you can understand this vibration. You have different sections of hertz frequencies. You got megahertz, kilohertz, gigahertz, and terahertz. Now, 1 hertz normally is from anywhere from 100 to 1,000 electromagnetic voltages per second. So I'm gonna give y'all the analogy of a drum. If I hit a drum 1 time, that's 1 hertz. If I can hit a drum from 0 to 1,000 times per second, that's a kilohertz. So kilo means 1,000. Now a megahertz means 1,000,000. So if I can hit a drum 1,000,000 times per 1 second, that's 1 megahertz. Now a gigahertz is 1 billion. So if I can hit a drum 1 billion times every 1 second, that's 1 gigahertz. A terahertz is 1 trillion. So if I can hit a drum 1 trillion damn times every 1 second, that's 1 trillion. The sun becomes physical at 432 terahertz. That means if the sun had a drum, it would be hitting that damn drum 432 trillion times every 1 goddamn second. You understand how powerful that is? So, when we're dealing with frequency, everything is sound. Now, how do we know that sound causes an effect on the physical realm? I'm going to give y'all the most easiest example. I ain't going to go into levitation and all of that, because that's another lecture. How many of y'all ever seen somebody scream and crack a glass? Okay, your voice ain't physical, that you know of, but the electromagnetic frequency, and depending upon your vernacular chords at the time, however you adjust them to raise the pitch of your voice, you can cause an effect on this physical realm. So imagine the sun screaming motherfuckers into existence. That's what it's doing. With that being said, let's keep it kicking. So we're dealing with physical matter, right? The sun is speaking now. Boom. And you see the waves begin to condense. So the terahertz frequency is picking up. So this is about 1 terahertz right here. And it's going up. This is probably 2, this is probably 3, this is probably 4. Now we're at about 432 terahertz now. Now the sun is vibrating so hard that it's creating physical reality. And the first form of anything physical is, guess what? Colors. And the first color of the rainbow is red. So red is the first form of physical manifestation. This is why it's called your lower self. Because it's the lowest level of what you was built upon. And we know through quantum physics, sunlight carries intelligence.
So what do I mean by the secret spells of the English language? Well, let me share with you what I call our premier life sentence. And it goes something like this. We awake each morning and go off during the weekdays to earn the living at various jobs and undertakings until we come to the weekend. And this seems perfectly acceptable to most people. However, more people die between 6 and 9 on a Monday morning than any other time of the week. So I do what I call a translation of the English language, and I spell that Trance, with the idea that words cast spells. So when you translate that life sentence, you remember that awake is a funeral party for the dead. Mourning is the state you're in when you attend a wake. And you would have to be in a weekdays to earn the living, since urns are for the ashes of the dead. We call our jobs undertakings. Job itself is a Hebrew word for persecuted. And what we get at the end of this perverse bargain with life is the weak end of the deal as we become progressively weakened ourselves. And so our most prevalent greeting to each other is hello, the reverse of which is, oh, hell. And at first, I suspected the hands of collusion entangling the language to foster illusion. And I think it's quite true that a culture's theology has a great deal to do with the word's etymology and how it evolves over time to combine incompatible meanings that may undermine the original thoughts it was meant to define. But now, I don't think it's planned, for the thing that I've found is that like concepts can gravitate toward the same sound and vibrate at the rate that our thoughts designate. Because words are electromagnetic vibrations whose fine alphabetic tintinnabulations can take on the tint of our true expectations, which they then imprint on our metal of mind, causing sounds to adhere when they're of the same kind.
Alkaline has to do with, everything is more enlightened or functioning when it's in the alkaline state. The ocean is alkaline around 8.3, whatever pH, we're alkaline at 7 point above. But you understand that, there's life force what we eating, all right? So when you eat flesh, dead meat, the cells are dead. You're eating rotten meat. It's dead, all right? And when you cook vegetables or fruit, you're cooking away the life essence, the life force that was in it. So when you eat fruits and vegetables or whatever, when it's raw, in a drawish form, that is 100% all of his life force, all right? So as soon as it's plucked out of, the plant, bears its fruit, pick it off, wash it off, and that's the 100% most abundance of minerals and vitamins you can have. But we're not living that. We're getting our food from grocery stores, processed, pesticides, preservatives, we're eating, dead flesh. We need to understand there's life force on what we're eating. It's all generated sun energy, all right? There's no energy being created nor destroyed. So why are you trying to, influence the energy you already have with dead cells, dead energy, all right? Influence it with life, all right? All the energy you need to fulfill all the goals you have is already with you, all right? It's everywhere, all right? All you're doing, you're the influencer, right? So however you treat your body, you keep being acidic, you're going to be an acidic, low vibrational individual, all right? So if you want to, be high up here with all your goals and, life and stuff, then start eating more of that way. Start eating things that are abundant with life.
And 7 is neutral. Anything below 7 is acid. Anything above 7 is alkaline. So, first of all, you want to understand that foods that contain acid aren't necessarily acid forming, and that foods that are alkaline on the table aren't necessarily alkaline forming. So, someone told me yesterday in a conversation that we should be drinking alkaline water. Oh, I didn't know that, because I thought we should be drinking nature's perfect spring water, which tends to run between pH 6, slightly acidic, to pH 8, slightly alkaline. Okay, it doesn't need to be any more alkaline than that. It's perfectly fine. And making the water more alkaline does not make your body more alkaline. It doesn't work that way. It's about how your body interacts with the minerals in the substance, not the pH of the substance. So oranges, we talked about, pH, pretty low. pH 3, 3.5. That's pretty acidic. Okay? Anyone understand that, by the way, this is a logarithmic scale? What that means is that pH 6 is 10 times more acidic than pH 7. And pH 5 is 100 times more acidic than pH 7. And pH 4 is 1,000 times more acidic. pH 3 is 10,000 times more acidic than water. That's an orange. How about orange juice? It's in the same range. Lemon juice, 2.2, 2.3. Okay? It's almost 100,000 times more acidic than water. But when we eat foods, they will have an impact on our alkalinity. When we talk about our alkalinity, we're really talking about the blood.
When you eat raw fruit, raw vegetables, you're drinking raw juices. Do you know if you tested those juices with litmus paper before they went into your body, they test acidic? They test acidic with litmus paper. But when you drink it, that gets broken down into an alkaline ash called potassium hydroxide. The hydroxyl molecule literally goes into your body. Now, chemically written, a hydroxyl molecule is OH negative. Oxygen, hydrogen, negative charge. What's hydrogen? The acidic nature of hydrogen is a positively charged hydrogen ion, H positive. Imagine what happens when that juice gets broken down into hydroxyl ions, OH negative, and reacts with the positively charged hydrogen ion. What reaction do you think takes place? You have an OH negative and an H positive, two H's and an O. That reaction forms water. Water is neutral. You neutralize that acidity. You've now changed the charge at the level of the cell membrane, and you've now just allowed your body to properly oxygenate tissues, making the sugars in these fruits and vegetable juices and the natural fruits and vegetables they get at our clinic, they can now be easily converted to massive amounts of energy. And that is what ultimately fires up the immune system, and that's why we have the storied history of reversing these advanced diseases.
It's part of our circle of life.
No, it's the circle of torture and death.
When you see a lion eating a zebra, and you're.
But I notice
saying,
you have
okay,
clothes on, and I notice that you have a cell phone and you have a computer. It is unfair to pick one thing that lions do that you want to mimic when you don't want to mimic anything else they do. When lions walk up and greet each other, they sniff each other's ass. When I came in this room, you did not kneel down and sniff my ass. Okay, lions sometimes kill their young when they're runts. Okay, if a human being killed their baby because they didn't want him, we arrest them and charge them with murder. Could you go to a courtroom and say, hey, but Your Honor, lions kill their babies, can't I? It's an unfair comparison. You're not a lion. And just so you know, lions are carnivores. Humans are not. We are herbivores, 100% up and down. You put a 2-year-old child in a crib with a bunny rabbit and an apple, let me know when the child eats the bunny rabbit and plays with the apple. We are purely herbivorous. We have no carnivorous or omnivorous instincts whatsoever. And physiologically, if your jaw moves from side to side in a grinding motion and you chew, you're 100% herbivore. If you were a meat eater like a lion, your jaw would only go like this, up and down, rip and swallow. If you sweat through your pores to cool yourself, you're herbivore.
It's part of our circle of life.
No.
Our spine is one of the most neglected parts of our body. And, you know, we already understand that our brain generates everything. You know, we can't move our hands, you can't function, you know, can't eat stuff, you know, digestive system without our brain to function. But where does all that energy, you know, all these signals get distributed to? It's the spine, you know, it's like the road, you know, it's connected to everything, all right? All our energy is being, you know, used up and being distributed through our spine. So if we're, you know, having back problems, you know, people are slouched over, the energy, you know, there's no energy being distributed. This energy is Kundalini energy, all right? Each different vertebrae has a specific way of influencing our entire body. Our 13th vertebrae is feminine. Our 14th vertebrae is masculine, all right? That's why you see people stand like this, you know, females stand like this because they're supporting the feminine. And men stand uptight, tall, because they're supporting their 14th vertebrae. All right. Our energy is stored all in the bottom. All right. So when we tend to rise all this energy through with stretching and yoga and meditating, all these things, it all flies up to our top. But this is where it's important to activate our pineal gland. All right. Our pineal gland is the commander-in-chief of all of our systems in our our nervous system, right? We have our central system, we have our sympathetic, we have our autonomous, but the leader of this is the pineal, and this is why our pineal is not protected by our blood-brain barrier, all right? Because it is just basically on its own, and it's always trying to be it's our third eye. This is why you get the term third eye. And since it's not protected by the blood-brain barrier, things like fluoride and all these other harsh chemicals are directly being influenced to rust, shut our pineal gland in extremely fast because it's not protected by a blood-brain barrier. So when you understand that there's all these things that are purposely trying to shut it down, understand why. Because if you open up your third eye, your pineal gland, you get to be aware of everything. You get to activate all your senses in a more enlightened way. You get to be a more enlightened individual. It literally is what it is. Once you open up your third eye, you can start tapping into all the senses that you thought you had, but you really just been on a low level, and you need to rise on these levels. Okay, so our Kundalini energy is through our spine and everything, and this is where all our energy is stored, right here in the reserve, and it flies through our whole body. Okay, but what are these things? All right, it's our chakras. Okay, we have 7 chakras, and we need to understand that each chakra holds a specific set of vertebrae. Every single chakra is influenced by different sets of frequencies, okay? Energy, frequency, okay? So if you're on a low vibrational frequency, you're always gonna be right here. We can start by our feet, but it rises up to around 432 right here on our root one. This is where we start, okay? But if individuals are always doing low vibrational things, staying down here, you're always gonna stay down here. You're never gonna be unenlightened, smarter, open your third eye people. This is how people are addicted to sex. They can't stop doing anything. They can't stop going to the clubs caring about, I'm gonna get some money just so I can get some more, like, come on. We're stuck down here. We need to rise above, okay? You need to go past that, all right? Use all this energy you have and fly up, okay? Our chakras are specifically here for our spiritual journey, okay? So the difference between religion and spiritual is because, in religion, you can have your beliefs and whatever you want, but they have a specific set of rules. They tell you what's right and wrong, you can't do this, you can't do that. But on a spiritual journey, it's up to you. It's up to you, okay? It's up to you on what you think is considered moral or whatnot, I think it's, pretty abundant that we want peace and be a moral individual, but like I say, you will find that out through your own spiritual journey. Okay, there are no set of rules. It is you. When you're in your spiritual journey, you give all praises to yourself. You get to love yourself. All these religions get to I have to give all my thanks to a higher individual, which I can see how they teach us to be humble, but on a constant basis, when do I get to teach that I'm when do I get to teach that I'm a king? When do I get to teach that I'm, the universe, the center of the universe is in me? When do we get to learn that? All right, I want to understand that, humble and be equal, but as well as, I am the center. I need to be happy. This is what the spiritual journey is, happiness. Get to understand that is the most important thing about yourself. This is your life. This is your journey. This is your experience. You deserve to be happy.
All right, thank you. So, chakras in the 33 vertebrae, part 1. Kundalini energy exists in the Kundalini reservoir, and it enters the spine through the first vertebrae and begins to travel and make its way up the pineal gland. So when we say chakras and this is not real, what the fuck you think is keeping your body electrically energized? So this area right here is called the gooch area. Let's be mature. It's in between your private part and your butt. Y'all know what the gooch is. Y'all motherfuckers do some stuff. So that being said, the gooch area is your Kundalini reservoir. This is like the pool, this is like the lake, this is like where this shit is housed at. And what happens is the Kundalini energy shoots out of the gooch area, enters into the coccyx tailbone, the first vertebrae specifically, And the first vertebrae actually is designated to gravity. That's why when you break your coccyx tailbone, you become paralyzed, because your body can no longer conduct the energy that is given to it from its 10th chakra, aka gravity. You follow me? So this is how paralysis takes place. Just like solar paralysis, you can't conduct solar frequency. So that being said, Kundalini energy rises up all 33 vertebrae into the brain, and I'll give you the science on that in a minute. But I want y'all to deal with the vertebrae. This is what your vertebrae looks like. Now, fuck all these words. We ain't doing all that. We're going to focus on the bone right here, which is called the vertebral body. And see this light blue part? Right here at the top? This is called nucleus pulpus, right? The Kundalini energy shoots out of the Kundalini reservoir, enters into the spine, right here through the nucleus pulpus, stimulates that vertebrae, and then it's transmitted through the spinal nerves, up the spinal cord to the next vertebrae, and so on and so on and so forth, right? Now, why is this important? I'll give y'all an example. Homosexuality, right? If you're homosexual, I'm not banging on you, I'm just telling you why you are. 13th and 14th vertebrae commute feminine and masculine energy. The 13th vertebrae is feminine, the 14th is masculine. Now, girls tend to stand like this. Men tend to stand straight. When men become effeminized, they tend to stand like girls because they're supporting that vertebrae. Now, what happens is, if you got hot and cold water and you turn them on balanced, then the water will be lukewarm. You turn the cold on more than the hot, it's gonna be cold. You turn the hot on more than the cold, it's gonna be hot. Your spine has to be balanced. When you have a deficiency in your 14th vertebrae, which is your masculine vertebrae, the 13th vertebrae, which is feminine, kicks into overdrive to make up for that deficiency. So you start to do homosexual things. This is why we got nephews right now who we know not gay, but they do girly stuff. And you be like, don't do that. But you know we're not gay, but he might do this. He might stand like this. This is because he's trying to support his energy. This is why in martial arts they tell you straight spine. They stress the motherfucking spine. So this is the same thing with your being. Girls naturally stand more feminine because they support that 13th vertebrae. Men stand straight because we support our 14th vertebrae. So even your back posture helps to disseminate the direction of your energy flow. Now, why is this important? Because those are only 2 vertebrae out of 33. You got 31 other vertebrae that cause effects in your body as well. So if you get to a vertebral block, this can cause pains in the body. Now these pictures right here, I took them fresh out of my Kundalinis and the Chakras book. I don't give y'all no shit I ain't already read and researched. I'm not making shit about my ass. So you got A, B, C, and D. A, B, and C is good, D is bad. Now I'm gonna tell you why. Kundalini energy, once it jumps out of that reservoir, what it's supposed to do is flow straight up your damn back to your brain. But a lot of us sit in seats that slouch. A lot of us stand with a goddamn slouch. A lot of us have never been taught back posture properly at all. And then when you do, your parents try to tell you, boy, stop standing there like you tough. They take it wrong. When your 8-year-old in the house like, yes, dad, now dad want to bully you out your posture. So this is why even when you intimidate somebody, what's the first thing they do? They slouch over. Your spine expresses your mental and spiritual capacity. So this is why people who are confident always put their chest out. Motherfuckers be finna fight. First thing niggas do is put their little chest out. You ain't gonna do nothing to me. You ain't nothing to me, and put your chest out. Because you get the energy flowing. So I'm proving my point here. What happens is, let's say each of these vertebrae are connected to a chakra. So your first 3 chakras are from your this is your coccyx. You got 4 vertebrae in your coccyx, 5 vertebrae in your sacral, 5 vertebrae in your, I believe this is called the lumbar. Yes, the lumbar. And then you have 12 right here in your thoracic nerves, and then the top you have 7 in your cervical. And this is what you call the 33 steps, or Masons say 33 degrees, and this is what they're talking about. But long story short, let's say these are chakras. So these are your first 3 chakras. This is your 4th and 5th and 6th chakra, and this is your 7th chakra once you leave the spine. So the 6th and 7th chakras are out the spine. The 5 chakras are all in the body, right? So let's say you got bad posture in your back. So the Kundalini energy, when it flows this way straight up, is good. When you feel like it's an egg going up your back, you good. When it feel like your body just rejuvenated and refreshed, like you ever do some yoga or something, you just feel so flowy, that's C. Now D is when the energy is, any of these 3 is flowing and it gets to a block because you got bad posture. But you might not be conscious of it. So this turns into lower back pains, upper back pains. This turns into stomach pains. This turns into chest pains. Because what's happening is the energy is flowing, and then when it get to the goddamn, let's say this is let's make a vertebrae up. Let's say this is the 23rd vertebrae. The 23rd vertebrae is out of whack. So now the energy has to either jump out of the front of the chakra or the back of the chakra, and this causes pains in the body. So this is where acupuncture comes in. So you see Chinese people doing acupuncture and laying you down and massage you, this is because they're realigning the spine so that energy could flow. Now what happens is, assuming that your vertebrae is intact and assuming that you are healthy and your spine is aligned, your Kundalini energy will rise up the spine, enter into the brain right here, hit the pineal gland. The pineal gland separates the third ventricle from the fourth ventricle, as you can see right here. And the pineal gland actually lifts up. And a neuromelanated liquid flows out of the third ventricle of the brain into the fourth ventricle of the brain and stimulates the brain. Black people are the only people that have a black liquid in their head. Go look it up. Only people on the planet Earth. And this liquid actually stimulates the brain, stimulates what we call dipple antennas, as I stated before, which are melanated tissue receptors located in between the internal and external layers of the skull. And this actually gives us our connection to the solar system, aka the Most High. So this is why the Egyptians wore the cobra on their head, as you can see, because the pineal gland actually swells up like the hood of a cobra, and the pituitary gland begins to flicker like the tongue of a cobra, and this is why they put the uraeus on their head, to signify I'm in my higher self and my Kundalini energy is flowing. So the same way Buddhist monks give you the bead when you reach Buddhahood, in Egypt they give you the uraeus when you reach pharaohhood. You follow me? So this shit wasn't to look cute. They was in tune with the sciences. Now why is this important? Because how the fuck you gonna reach pharaohhood? How the fuck you gonna open up that pineal gland when you didn't lock this shut? You been drinking fluoride water. Fluoride calcifies the pineal gland. You might say, Pharaoh, why would they want to calcify the pineal gland? Why would you want to seal it shut? Because it's supposed to motherfucking open. So even if you get to channeling your energy, you've been drinking fluoride water for 40 motherfucking years. That's like rust on your doorknob for 40 years. You ain't opening that goddamn door. You're not. You're not. So a nigga say, I can't leave the meat alone. Bitch, you would never become in your higher self. That's if we gonna be a blunt. I'm not being nice no more. I'm not with it. Bitch, would stay there. Get the fuck away from me then, nigga. I don't wanna be down. I'm trying to go up here, nigga. I'm trying to not feel no pain. I'm trying to transcend. Bitch, you talking about McDonald's. Get your ass out of it. Ain't nobody dealing with you. We trying to become gods again. You trying to find an excuse why you wanna be a demigod. Get the fuck out of here. So that's just what it is. Keep it kicking. All right, let's keep it kicking. Healing the chakras. Because you might say, Pharaoh, you got chakras. How do you heal them? How do we heal these chakras? Sound, cymatics. It is a fact that you can actually alter somebody's DNA with sound.
Breathing techniques are the easiest way to tap into everything, all right? What are the key elements of life? Water and oxygen, all right? Without these things, basically everything would die, okay? So when we understand that we're already not even drinking enough water, we're drinking pop soda and juices and stuff, you know, orange juice that's contained with, you know, all these, you know, fructose corn syrup, whatever it is, and we're not even drinking water, let alone breathing the way we need to, all right? Some of you people that are still learning how to breathe good, you know, up straight, you know, it's still not enough. You need to sit down and actually take into account of a real exercise, just like when you go to the gym. Spend about 5 to 10 minutes of actually trying to focus on these breathing techniques, okay? The more you oxygenate your entire blood, the more vibrations and the more abundance of spirit and life you actually raise up. Like, imagine like a balloon. Like, literally, that's how I picture it. You know, you're just becoming more aware. You know, you're actually rising up with all this oxygen, with all this, you're just oxygenating your body. And, you know, it's kind of like a goosebump feeling almost. You know, your hair kind of just rises up. You know, you feel everything of what I've been speaking of. You know, at the end of the day, all of this can seem, you know, woo-woo, you know, kind of fake, but until you really take into account how breathing it is, you need to get deeper to your subconscious. You know, this is how you get deeper. And when you do your breathing techniques, you can just slip right into meditation. These are intertwined. These are basically correlated into one, okay? When you keep breathing, raise up your vibrational level and keep rising and emit a bigger frequency with your electromagnetic aura. You know, all of our nervous systems is electric, and with our minerals, it's magnetic, electromagnetic, hence how energy we give out is the energy that we receive. When you do your breathing and, you know, get your vibrations higher and just get deeper and deeper into your subconscious, this is how your meditation can just slip right in. With meditation, you know, this is the key factor on how to, you know, get rid of stress and every single thing that's wrong with your mental health and, you know, physical as well. Talk to yourself, you know, get in there, you know, just focus, clear your mind. Everybody is just constantly just thinking about, you know, Cardi B, my video games, I got bills, I got just non-stop things, you know. Just pause. What do I need to do? What's my next play? what am I gonna do for the next hour? How do I, we're already meditating, but it's like quick 20 seconds, we do this on a daily basis, but it's not really meditating sitting down, So learn to meditate. If you really do this for longer, 30 minutes, an hour, you can see the benefits on tapping into your subconscious, The more you tap into your subconscious, the more you're able to use your brain. So, yeah. So, in all, use the breathing techniques to slip in right into meditation. And when you start meditating, meditation is exactly what we need to teach our youth. All these kids that are screaming tantrum, and you want to whoop them, you want to slap, you don't tell them they're stupid. These are the utmost toxic things you can do to a youngin'. All right, instead of grounding them, telling them you're wrong, why these are 5, 6-year-olds, 4-year-olds, this is where they actually obtain most of their information. So of course they deserve to be a little rowdy. They're kids, they have a lot of energy. Just teach them how to meditate. Tell them to sit down, breathe, close your eyes. Why are you acting like this? Tell them to be a more enlightened individual. Tell them the truth nonstop. Telling kids the lies, spreading wrongful misinformation helps nobody. And then when they're 15 or 16, you try to wonder why they act like this. You raised them this way. You're not telling them the truth about themselves and how to focus on their negative things. All right, our subconscious, all right, will draw out the blueprint on exactly how to get our goals. Okay, so with spirit, we can literally manifest all of our goals into reality. Okay, and if we all have a higher vibrational frequency, we can basically, eradicate, toxic behaviors, okay? There's no way individuals love negative murderers, rapists, road rage everywhere. There's no way you like wars. Why would you like any of this, okay? Everything can be eradicated through simple meditation.
That's nice. So if you lie on the couch or at home on the bed, you are even more relaxed. Then the tissue is able to open up more and receive even more oxygen. Then the pH levels, they go even way up more. And then it's easier to not breathe. What happens when you not breathe and your pH levels are actually okay? They are great. Then there is no oxygen. Suddenly the oxygen drops dramatically. Nobody understands in the hospital because they saw this for the first time. That is where normal people die, we go even lower.
In doing just what we just did.
Yes. If you do 3 minutes, you go lower than people who are dying.
And
but
so
you
that's
do
3
it
minutes.
Controlled.
3 minutes of breath holding.
Yes.
Exhale.
After the exhalation. That means that the oxygen, after 1.5 minutes, the oxygen drops dramatically. And that means that in the brainstem, the survival brain, the survival triggers, they come up with the adrenal axis, hypothalamus, epiphysis, pituitary gland, and the adrenal glands. Boom! And then anything that should not be in the body is gotten rid of.
Oh.
It's like a big sweep.
Yeah.
And one of the things is the immune system. The immune system, white cells, the stem cells are activated. The red cells, the lymphocytes, the neutrophils, the T cells, the B cells, they are all activated. Because it wants to survive. It wants to get rid of what should not be there, what is blocking
so you're
your
actually,
utmost functionality.
Right, you're actually indicating to your body that something wrong has happened.
Now you come in, is even a different thing is, the neurosignal of your own will, your intention, will count at that moment. It will execute what you have neurosignally demanded to your body. That is the new science. I showed it in Detroit. You got to look it up as a doctor. You can look into the paper. It's called Brain Over Body, Psychology Over Physiology. It's new. They say, and that's why it was interesting to also talk to you, Father. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast. Thank you. But the thing is, the psychiatrist who tested me, they saw me activating robustly an area of the brain thought of impossible by humans, which is the periaqueductal gray hemisphere.
Oh yes, that's involved in pain.
Endocannabinoids, the opioids and the cannabinoids, the endocannabinoid system. There's an opioid crisis in the world. We found a way how to willfully activate that area. That huge consequences. Another thing, those professors, they say, we found, this is the way they stated in the publication. We now have the compelling evidence of the key components of the autonomous processes in the brain related to mood regulation. So if we have anxiety, depression, psychosis, then something is not working well. How to bring back balance? This one doesn't. They say this is a transformational technique that will change mental health care. It's only a matter of time. And sorry that it is so easy, that it is so simple.
Well, I didn't find it that simple to do, and it wasn't simple for you to discover.
That is true. Took me 40 years.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the relationship between this breathing technique and...
Watch it all over the world. And it was about the law of attraction. So everybody thinks they understand the law of attraction because they watch The Secret. Watching The Secret does not educate you on the law of attraction. What it does, it creates an awareness that there is such a law. What we have to understand is that it's a secondary law. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, there's a primary law called the law of vibration. The law of vibration decrees that everything in this universe moves. Nothing rests. The body in a coffin is moving. You're probably thinking this guy's smoking something. Listen, if the body in a coffin wasn't moving, how would it ever change to dust? It's always moving. It's always vibrating. Everything vibrates. We live in an ocean of motion. Take a microscope and look at a solid wall. It's not solid. It only appears to be solid. A perception problem there. You'll see the wall moving right in front of your eyes. There's a particle of energy and they're dancing right before your eyes. That's the law of vibration. The law of vibration decrees everything moves, nothing rests. We literally live in an ocean of motion. Now, this physical instrument we're living in, we call our body, is a molecular structure, and it's in a very high speed of vibration. Our brain is an electronic switching station. When we activate brain cells, we alter the vibration in different parts of the body. I could not move my hand up and down or my arm up and down without first giving a message to my brain to do that. Well, the brain activates cells in the body. It sets up a vibration in the body. The vibration that the mind and body are in is going to dictate what you attract. Because when you put yourself in a vibration, what you're really doing is put yourself on a specific frequency. That's what you do when you set a goal. Most people set a goal and then wait for it to happen. It's never going to happen. You've got to assume that it's already happened. You've got a picture of it in your mind. Mentally, it's already happened. It's happened because I've got the idea in my conscious mind. If I didn't have the idea in my conscious mind, I couldn't talk to you about it. The very fact I can talk to you about it means that I've already got it. Then I've got to get emotionally involved in it. I'm already emotionally involved in the goal that I've got. I've got it intellectually, I've got it emotionally. It's only a period of time till it moves into form. How does it move into form? Well, you attract whatever is required for it to move into form. You attract all the energy that's necessary to produce the physical result. How do you do that? You do that by intellectually and emotionally staying in the vibration of the good that you desire. You see it already in the present tense. So that keeps you on the frequency, and that frequency then dictates what you're going to attract. You can only attract to you what's in harmonious vibration with you. Now, if you're holding an image that you can't get something, you're on a vibration, you're not going to get it. But if you can see yourself with it, you know it's coming to you. You know it. You know it's only a period of time. You're not quite sure what the time is, but you know it's a period of time, and bang, that thing's going to manifest in your life. You have controlled the vibration that you're in. The vibration then, called the frequency, you put yourself on the frequency that you desire is on. Let's suppose I want to have a lot of money. We were just talking about money. Now this is a lot of money relative to, let's say, this. There's 100, here's 10 or 100 100. So one's a lot relative to the other. Neither one is a lot, it just is. If I want to attract a lot of money, I got to see myself with a lot of money. I got to mentally accept I've already got it. I don't let my bank account dictate that. I choose that. So choosing myself to see myself with the good I already desire, I'm on that frequency. Now the trick is to stay on that frequency. Most people look at the results and they let the results dictate the frequency they're on. That's why they keep getting the same results. They have the image in their mind, they're already reached the goal they want, they're already successful, and somebody else comes along and says, well, you haven't got those results. In my mind, I have, but they're not looking in my mind, they're looking at my present results. And then pretty soon I start listening to them, I think, God, they're right, I look at my results, I haven't got it. You see why we keep getting this poor results? You've got to see yourself with the good you desire. You've got to hold that image in your mind. You've got to know it's going to come, and that will attract everything that's necessary. See, nothing is created or destroyed. Everything's already here. If not in one frequency, certainly in another. Or not in one state, certainly in another. We've got to get on the frequency of the good that we desire. And we will attract it into our life just as sure as it's going to get darker tonight. And we can do that. Now, are you going to understand it just based on what I said? No, you probably won't. But at least I created an awareness. Oh, wait a minute. My body is a mass of energy. My mind, my brain, my mind activates the brain cells. The brain is an electronic switching station. If I change my thinking, my body changes. God, there's probably something here I should study. Hopefully on what I've told you, on what I've shared with you, is going to get you interested. See, everything my company teaches, we go into this in depth. We help you understand you so that you can attract the good that you desire. But you've got to get in the right vibration. You've got to understand it. You've got to understand the natural laws that govern this whole universe. And if you don't understand them, you're leaving it up to chance or luck, and odds are pretty good it ain't going to happen very well. Can you understand it? Listen, I never went to school. I went to high school for 2 months. I had a horrendous work record. I couldn't hold a job. And all of a sudden, wham, like that. Very, very successful by almost anybody's standards. How did that happen? A person took an interest in me, and he started to teach me. And I took an interest in what he was teaching. He said, if you do exactly what I tell you, you can get anything you want. I don't coach many people one-on-one. When I do, it costs them a lot of money, but they've got to agree they're going to do exactly what I tell them. And if they don't do it, then I don't help them. It's all over. That's got to be the way it works. Go to someone who understands something better than you understand it and do exactly what they tell you. They prove they know how to get the results, they're getting them. Understand, this is an orderly universe you and I are a part of.
An unknown scientist was about to make a discovery that could have changed everything. His name was Winifred Otto Schumann. On the day in question, he was teaching his students about the physics of electricity, how the Earth and the ionosphere is a sphere within a sphere, which can create electrical tension and subsequently a frequency. Schumann instructed his class to calculate the tension that would exist in between. Having no idea himself, Schumann also began to calculate. Eventually he arrived at a frequency, one of approximately 10 Hertz. As incredible as it seemed to Schumann, our planet had a pulse, a measurable frequency that surrounded life on Earth. Although the professor was proud of his find, he did not see it as a hugely significant one. It would take several years and an incredible twist of fate before the professor would begin to realize the true importance of Schumann resonance. That twist of fate had begun 30 years earlier with another German scientist by the name of Hans Berger. Using an EEG machine he had built himself, Berger made the first ever recording of electrical frequency transmitted by the human brain. It was initially suggested the wave be named after the man who discovered it, but Berger, being a modest man, called it the alpha wave. Dr. Ankermüller, another German scientist, put 2 and 2 together and instantly realized the magnitude of what was in front of him. The frequency of the alpha waves recorded by Hans Berger were nearly identical to Schumann resonance, the frequency of the Earth. Dr. Ankermüller immediately contacted Schumann to further investigate. They studied in detail how tension is discharged by lightning in the Earth's ionospheric cavity. Eventually, they came up with an exact frequency. The pulse of the Earth, Schumann resonance, was exactly 7.83 Hertz. The discovery was remarkable. Schumann resonance was not just similar to the alpha waves of the human brain, it was identical. The brain's frequency, which controls our creativity, our performance, our stress, our anxiety, and our immune system, had somehow tuned in to the frequency of the planet. The pulse of the Earth had become the pulse of life itself. So what did all this mean? It was not long before somebody tried to find out. His name was Rutger Wever, an acclaimed scientist from the Max Planck Institute. In the early 1960s, the professor constructed an underground bunker in order to examine the circadian rhythm of man. The circadian rhythm is the day-night cycle, which is engraved into all life. Over a 30-year period, the professor conducted experiments in which student volunteers would spend several weeks at a time living in the bunker, completely shielded from the natural resonances of the Earth. In his results, Wever noted some astonishing findings. He discovered that when Schumann resonance was filtered out of the bunker, the students' physical and mental health suffered severely. Wever would secretly introduce the 7.83 Hertz frequency into the bunker using an electromagnetic pulse generator. Every time he did so, he noted the ill effects suffered by the volunteers either disappeared or decreased. Their headaches and emotional distress was reduced, and their sense of well-being was restored, all by the introduction of Schumann resonance. Wever's research had revealed an incredible connection between human health and the natural frequency of the planet. And in 2011, groundbreaking research suggested something even more impressive. That Schumann resonance can be connected to the beginning of life itself. The breakthrough came at the hands of Luc Montagnier, the Nobel Prize-winning scientist who first discovered the HIV virus. The professor was conducting water memory experiments when he stumbled upon something that would shake one of the very core principles of science. All life comes from life. That was a fundamental principle of science that had never been violated. It was thought that life could only exist where life had existed before, and the mechanism for this was always understood to be a material one, such as egg and sperm, or spore and cell division. But Luc's experiments offered a very different hypothesis. DNA sequences, the very building blocks of life, communicate with each other in water by emitting low-frequency electromagnetic waves. Even when the DNA was in separate test tubes, the professor still recorded electromagnetic communication between them. Communication so sophisticated as to form nucleotides, the very ingredient for life itself. Scientists have attempted similar experiments countless times before. How had Luc managed to achieve what no other scientist could, and create life where no life was present? What was so different about Luc's experiment? There was the presence of a frequency which when removed would cause the experiment to fail, but when present would ensure its success. That frequency was 7.83 Hertz, the Schumann resonance. How did all this happen? Well, when you look at the history of the Earth, it seems pretty obvious. Human waves have been part of this planet since the very beginning. Life is surrounded by them, and inevitably tuned in. Does it stand to reason that such an acute sensitivity would be affected by even the smallest change in the electromagnetic environment?
It can't be an accident that the same system of numbers crops up in the Great Pyramid, and that not only does the Great Pyramid give us the dimensions of the Earth, but that it does so on a scale defined by the Earth itself. That's an incredibly clever piece of work that we're looking at there.
Could the ancient builders have given us a monument to decode our human existence? Interestingly enough, the numbers Tesla was obsessed with show up in the equations of the Great Pyramid. The numbers Graham has concluded from his research on the pyramid are 72, 43,200, 600, 30, 25,920, and 2,160. And all of those numbers either equal 3, 6, or 9.
Then let's give you one more example. Let's track east from Giza. Let's go off to Cambodia, to Angkor in Cambodia. An amazing site, again, very much devoted to the investigation of the mystery of death. The very word Angkor actually has a meaning in the ancient Egyptian language. It means life to the Horus. And lo and behold, it turns out that Angkor, with its pyramidal monuments, Angkor lies exactly 72 degrees of longitude east of Giza. I do not believe that that is an accident or a coincidence. I think there's a deep and ancient connection, and what we're looking at in Angkor, because that site was continuously used by many later cultures, both Hindu and Buddhist, what we're looking at in Angkor is the latest incarnation of a much more ancient site, which, just like Giza, goes back into remote prehistory.
Could these precise calculations be spread across the globe and communicating a code? Is it possible this is what Nikola Tesla tapped into? Robert Bauval predicts this is the language of the future.
The way we read the universe is through mathematics and through its geometry. And through its mathematics and geometry, we need to know, slowly through our evolution, we begin to work out how triangles work, circles, ellipses, various shapes, and now work out the numbers, how they produce numbers. So having said this, the language that we as human beings will be communicating sounds a bit too science fiction, but I don't think we'll be talking English or Chinese in the next 2-3 centuries. Already we're using a different language using computers. I think we'll be talking mathematics in the sense that to get a pure idea out, to get a pure thought out and to structure it so that you understand exactly what I'm talking about, the shape, the size, the dimension, the weight, the speed, I'll have to number it, I'll have to put mathematics. The Great Pyramid is speaking that language, it's transmitting that language. It's a silent language, if you like, that needs to be read. We don't need Egyptologists, we don't need experts in hieroglyphs. It doesn't have hieroglyphs. We need mathematicians. We need mathematicians to read it. And that's one of the goals, is to tempt them to get into this. We've moved in a direction when we rely on external knowledge. We seem to think that the answer is out there and we look for it. Well, the answer may be inside us. I truly believe this. And therefore we need to rechange how we see ourselves and how we educate ourselves. I think what's interesting now is that the science is beginning to sort of touch the frontiers of what you would call in general terms spirituality. We begin to realize that the universe is mental. It is a mental universe. And we need to think in different forms, not just purely classical science.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite! Hannah, can you hear me? Wherever you are, look up, Hannah. The clouds are lifting. The sun is breaking through. We are coming out of the darkness into the light. We are coming into a new world, a kindlier world, where men will rise above their hate, their greed, and brutality. Look up, Hannah. The soul of man has been given wings, and at last he is beginning to fly. He is flying into the rainbow, into the light of hope, into the future, the glorious future that belongs to you, to me, and to all of us. Look up, Hannah. Look up.